Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. You are still a welcome to this new geopolitical conference dedicated to international news. World news headlines: Yemen has just seriously threatened the United States of America, and it is not a facade threat. The threat is indeed real. It is existential. And if Iran-backed Yemen puts work in execution of its threat, the economy American goes to experience a hard blow, a very hard blow, serious. That is why this threat is by train. It creates panic on the side of Washington. They don't understand. They don't know not what to do, since there is had a truce that was planned between which was already declared between the Americans, Israel and Yemen. But this truce has been broken. Ilada. So what is it really, the threat content? It is already necessary. Remember that this threat occurs just a few days after the triggering of intolerable sanctions against Iran. Now, you know very well the relations between Iran and Yemen, the tools of Yemen. Here, what is the threat? This is what we are going to talk about as part of this conference, Geopolitics, that I ask you gold and already to share as much as possible in all possible groups. Put a lot of likes, always leave a review, a comment, and if it's your first time to come across my video conference, you have to subscribe. This allows you to no longer miss the hot news and hot topics of the moment. Let's go deep. So this is a statement. This threat consists of a declaration of economic and strategic war. Yes, tools directly threaten Washington. The Houthists, who are supported by Iran, according to official information, announced that they will target the ships of the commercial ships linked to oil companies American. All oil tankers, all ships oil companies that are linked to the companies, American oil companies, will be struck in the coming hours and days by the Houthists of Yemen. This ship which passes into the Red Sea. Now it is the Red Sea area. It's the area operation inescapable for tools from Yemen. And these ships which are linked to the American companies. Among these companies, we have ExxonMobil, we have Chevron, we have Conoco, Phillips, which are big companies, oil companies. These are the big companies, including among others, which are targeted by the Houthists UN. So this threat concerns 12 areas crucial, huh? No, not 12 zones, 2 zones, I was going to say. So they will operate in 2 areas crucial, in the Red Sea and in the Gulf of Aden. These 2 areas are frequented areas for the supplying the whole world in terms of oil. These 2 areas are really frequented, and it must be said that these are trade hotspots global, neuralgic points of commerce global. So the blacklist that was published by the tools, it must be remembered that the tools published a blacklist, their targets blacklist. This blacklist includes 13 American companies. 13 American companies. So in speaking of Xenomobile and others, these are just samples among many others. In total, there are 13 American companies that are on the blacklist, who should be hit every time it passes with the oil. You imagine a ship that is in the middle of sea. We hit this ship, it's fire automatically. A ship that transports oil, it's fire. Yes, that's it. It's clear. The sea will heat up, of course. The humans will perish, of course. But especially since on the economic level, it will have a severe impact on the economy. An economy that is already almost flat because America has spent a lot on this Russian-Ukrainian war as part of its famous support for Ukraine. So on the blacklist, we have the 13 American companies. We have 9 leaders, and we have 2 ships now considered as an entity hostile. So for the leaders, if they have the possibility, they will strike the ships. They will strike because these ships pass through the Gulf of Eden in what we call the Sea Red. So we must say that we are in a context of escalation despite the previous truce with Washington. Yes, it is a real escalation that creates the panic in Washington because the Houthists are not happy. How is America and Israel, who are already preparing a new strike against Iran, how can they continue to think like this? They made sure that the proposal of resolution, which had been made by the Russia and China at the UN to postpone sanctions against Iran, this resolution was rejected. The project has been rejected. Iran was hit by very severe sanctions never imposed on Iran. As if all this were not enough, no, he's still preparing to strike Iran. So the autistic people of Yemen, these are people who don't joke around. They are not in on the joke. They are more shaved in the head, even much more than Iran. This is why many observers consider the Yemeni outists as being the armed wing of Iran. For America, when Yemen's tools pose actions, these are not the tools of the Yemen they see. It is Iran that America sees. It is Iran that Israel sees. And so the outists denounce American involvement in support military to Saudi Arabia and Israel. And so behind this profile, the shadow of Tehran, behind that profile, the shadow field that provides support, politics, logistics, and technology to the outists of Yemen. So what is the regional scope and consequences of this threat? The threat to maritime traffic international. It should be remembered that the Red Sea and Gulf of Deniz are strategic corridors through which transit a large part of the world's oil via the Suez Canal. So before that does not arrive at the Suez Canal, it must go through the Red Sea or through the Gulf course. So if he monopolizes the two, you have to see that the traffic global oil maritime will experience a decline. So target these ships American returns to strike the heart of the global energy trade, Even the price of oil is likely to rise. There you go. So here is a bit of the situation. At the moment, Washington doesn't know what it must be done. And so ladies and gentlemen, that was it, the headlines of international news. Please share it as much as possible. I come back later with news information. So it was the voice of your humble servant, the Samurai.